Something else that was interesting to see this weekend is Tom Brady. He decided to skip Friday walkthroughs to attend his former owner's wedding in Robert Kraft. And while I have no problem with doing that, where my issue comes in is on Saturday, instead of getting back to his team, he decides to fly in separately via private jet to Pittsburgh. He does not fly with the team. He does not meet up with the team, supposedly. Saturday is normally the last day to make adjustments. And the Bucs played awful on Sunday in a loss that it's a game that they shouldn't have lost. This Steelers team was extremely depleted. We were missing our top three corners. TJ Watt still not on the field. Like, Minkah Fitzpatrick wasn't on the field. Like, it's not a good loss at all for the Buccaneers. And, like, on the offensive side of the football, we didn't have Pat Freiermuth, who's easily a top three option for the Steelers. That's where I come up with the question, is Brady to blame for this Bucs loss, and is he to blame for them not being as good as they have been in the past years previously? And it's not his fault that the defense falls apart. The defense pretty much fell apart versus the Steelers because the Steelers offense does not have the weapons to compete with that Bucs defense, while the Bucs defensive backs are not all that talented. They do have one or two very good guys in Sean Murphy-Bunting and Antonio Winfield. And both of those guys got picked apart and destroyed by Chase Claypool, who doesn't perform consistently ever. But I think the Bucs issues are pretty self-inflicted. I think they can fix them, but if they don't fix them, it's in for a long ride, and this team could very easily be a wild card bounce if they even make the wild card. But yeah, Tyler, you have something to say?
Yeah, and like that clip that blew up about him literally like screaming at his team over their loss. Like honestly, the audacity of him to kind of just be like, "Oh, I'm gonna skip all this and not be here for any of that, but I can get mad at you guys. I can scream at you guys because you're not doing well." Like, I think those rings are getting to his head, cutting the blood to his head. I don't really know. I think he's just have a massive ego.
I don't disagree with the massive ego. I do believe that he's kind of almost at this point living on the fact that he is one of the greatest quarterbacks to walk the face of the planet, and he's one of the most successful quarterbacks to grace to step foot on this planet. Like, of all time, he's easily the best or one of the best in almost everybody's eyes. And it comes down to a point where if you're going to be losing games like this and you're going to be screaming at your offensive lineman, like, it's going to be hard for me if I was one of those offensive linemen to look at him. And I understand he's the GOAT, but if you're missing a Friday walkthrough or Saturday day where that's like the last day you can be with the team before the game, and like that's when you make like some minor adjustments. He missed that time. I understand for him might not be as big as a deal because again he's been in the NFL for like his entire life pretty much, but it is a massive issue. I think you had something to say there, Nate.
Honestly, I think this was probably the year he should have retired. I think that's what he was planning on, and I think this season just further demonstrates that his time is done. I think he's past his prime, way past his prime. This is kind of like his Wizards run. He got a ring, so it's not as bad as Michael Jordan's Wizard run, but he's at the tail end of his career. I think he's done. Honestly, I'm gonna say about another great too. I think Aaron Rodgers is done as well.
I will not take that type of slander, but keep going.
Did you see that Jets game? I mean,
I blame LaFleur for that. I feel like LaFleur did not make any changes to his offense for Rodgers. He's still playing pretty much the same offense that they were playing when Adams was there, and they don't have a guy that can do the things Adams can do.
Because is not Adams at all.
No, and Randall Cobb is not Lazard. Like, Christian Watson's not Lazard. Romeo Dobbs isn't Lazard. Robert Tonyan can't do the things like Adams did. Like, none of those guys can. None of them, even as a collective unit, can fill the hole that Adams left in that offense. And Rodgers wants them to simplify it. And with Cobb getting hurt, that's the guy that he had the most rapport with. Like, they need to just trust their offensive line and pound the rock because they got two very good running backs. They have an elite running back in Aaron Jones and an extremely above average running back in A.J. Dillon, who could honestly be a number one running back on most teams if he was elsewhere. Like, there's no doubt in my mind he'd be the number one running back on 25 teams in the NFL if he wanted to be, if he was somewhere else. And he'd get 20 carries a game. They need to put the ball in A.J. Dillon and Aaron Jones' hand if they want to be successful, not because Rodgers can't get it done, but because they don't have the weapons for Rodgers to, like, utilize downfield. They don't have guys that can create separation at all. They don't have guys with steady hands. They don't have crisp route runners like they used to have with Adams. It's a real problem, and it showed up as of late especially. But I think that Brady might be a little different. I think that Brady's just kind of – he's not in the zone like he always used to be. He's very distracted, it seems like. We know there's stuff going on in his home life. We know that Brady wanted to retire because he did. Like, he announced retirement, came back a month later because he felt like there was unfinished business. But, like, how much unfinished business could there be if you're the quarterback of the most Super Bowls of all time? You know?
I don't really think it was unfinished business. I think it was more just to get back at Adam Schefter. Because I think I think he just kind of wanted to prove Adam Schefter wrong. Adam Schefter is kind of notorious for releasing information before there's a confirmation. You know, it's kind of like he assumes something and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna post this as news." And so I think it was just more of spite that he came back to play rather than just like, I have unfinished business. You know, he has the same amount of rings as the Steelers as an organization. Does he have more? Yeah, he has more rings than the Steelers organization. Is that how many are the Steelers the most? The 6?
Steelers are tied with the Patriots with 6. Then Cowboys have 5. San Francisco has 5. And then after that, I don't know. But I do know that. And as a Steelers fan, I was absolutely pissed when New England tied us with 6 rings. But I got over it because it's Tom freaking Brady and Bill Belichick. There's nothing you can do. You know? Like,
When you have more like championship rings though, than all teams in the NFL history, you have more rings than them. You're done. There's nothing else that you need to accomplish. So I think this season was just more out of spite. So I think he's not even playing for the right reasons. I think I think he's probably done after this. You know, it's sad that he gave up his family for a wild card. It kind of sucks. Maybe not even a wild card because with the NFC East playing that good, I don't even think there's going to be a spot for Tom Brady in the wild card. So he gave up his family for a wild card. Sucks, but you know, that's his decision.
it is a real shame, and you could see it in the Steelers game, just how the team as a whole looked disinterested. I mean, there was a time last week when Todd Bowles wasn't at a practice. He's the freaking head coach. Todd Bowles missed the Wednesday practice, which is normally like the most important practice of the week. Like, that's normally when, like, if there's injured guys, you'll know whether they're going to go on Sunday or not. If they're activated for that practice and are full participants, 99% chance they're going to go on Sunday if they're like an injured guy. Tom wasn't at that practice. Todd Bowles wasn't at that practice. The head coach missed the practice. There's a lot of disarray down there, but the Steelers took advantage of it. I'm very excited.